On the statement's points on contempt of court, can the Minister comment on the CPS's refusal to release full background details about Rutger Bjarne even after his guilty plea, leading the Crime Reporters Association to note a worrying pattern of police forces who want to provide information to the press being instructed to stay silent? I raise this because I wanted to know what the Minister thinks about the information vacuum that, yes, some bad faith players will stir the pot in, but most of the people speculating and asking questions about, say, terrorism were parents who were just sickened by the carnage of those little girls, and I think felt resentful at being, quite frankly, called out as either far right or that they themselves were somehow the problem. So can we have more openness, more information, not less?
The government has tried to be as open as possible at every stage of this process, which is why we've made statements to the House of Commons, both when the incident occurred and on sentencing and now. But I hope the Noble Baroness will recognise that the government has a duty also to make sure that information doesn't prejudice a trial and or doesn't prejudice a sentencing result, even after a guilty plea, because the information the government holds and information the government was party to and information the government has prepared already to begin to promote ideas that we're acting on now, if they had been put into the public domain at a time when the government either became aware of them or acted upon them, then we may have had a situation whereby a trial would not have been a fair and open trial, a conviction may not have happened in the way it has happened, and even after the guilty plea, which again the government was not expecting on that date, we may not have had the sentence subject to potential appeals because of anything the government has said. So the government's role is to certainly now have an inquiry for all the reasons I've mentioned, certainly look at all of the issues that all noble barons and baronesses have made today, but the government also has a responsibility to make sure that the judiciary fulfil their job appropriately.
Just further to the answer that the Minister has just given, Jonathan Hall, the government's independent reviewer of counter-terror legislation, said this in the aftermath of this heartbreaking killings. He said, "If there is any information you can give, put it in the public domain, and be really careful that you don't fall into the trap of saying, we can only say zilch because there are criminal proceedings. Quite often there's a fair amount that can be put into the public domain. Just saying there's a charge we can't say anymore is not going to cut it these days." I appreciate, as the Minister says, the position is very difficult and one doesn't want to prejudice a trial, but will he reflect on what the independent adviser said, and did he agree with it?
Well, I'm grateful again for the way in which the Noble Lord has put his question. What we have done is we have now charged the independent reviewer of terrorist legislation to examine the lessons from this case. The comments that he's made, I think, are comments for him to be responsible for, but he will present a report, which again, this government will publish and will present to both houses in due course, on the issues that he thinks are relevant, and we will respond. And I think that's the right and proper way to do it. I'm not about to make policy now at the dispatch box, nor is my right honourable friend, on issues which demand and need reflection. And I hope the Noble Lord understands the reasons I've put the response in that way.